Greetings, folks. Today we have the pleasure of sharing with you our 44th Costa Rica Pura Vida Lifestyle podcast series episode that deals with the daily life in Costa Rica and the many questions that arise when thinking about moving here, visiting for a while, how one acquires their legal status, etc., etc. Becoming a resident of Costa Rica, it's an involved process. More and more individuals and families are thinking about it now, and they're actually starting the process as well. Many people are moving to Costa Rica this year. There seems to be so much stress and a need for change in their lives. And Costa Rica seems to be that Pura Vida lifestyle oasis, so to speak, a land of tranquility and easy, laid back life, and just basically having a strong desire for a more sane and peaceful life. And today, speaking of sane and peaceful, we are talking with a very nice gentleman. His name is Kevin McNamee. He's the representative for Costa Rica Immigration and Moving Experts. He and his team have helped literally hundreds of people in acquiring their legal status and everything that's involved with the process for many years. Kevin, I just wanted to first of all say hello and thank you so much for being available today for our 44th time together. I have a couple questions for you, and we're really excited about listening to what you have to say.
Well, you can include me anytime you want on your podcast. So, since you refer to me as a nice gentleman, so much a much nicer introduction than normal, but greatly appreciated. No, seriously, Skip, it's anytime. I enjoy these moments, and also it's a good time for us to keep recapping what is currently happening in immigration and such, and by you're asking the questions, we are forced to keep our answers current, and that's important for everybody.
Absolutely, and that's why we come back to you because I know things change so much, and everything that you say is truthful and up to date, and that's exactly what everybody wants to hear. Hey, Kevin, in our first 43 episodes, we've really discussed a lot of things: your personal history, how you got into the residency business, and we've reviewed all the statuses. Really, we've talked about everything there is to talk about, and I have been reviewing my notes, and not only have we not talked about this, but this is one of the most asked questions that I receive each and every day, and that's what is the process of bringing a vehicle into Costa Rica? A lot of people, they do purchase here when they arrive, but a lot of people want their car from the United States or Canada or wherever they're coming from. So could you explain that a little bit, please?
Certainly, that's an excellent question, incidentally, but it is one of those questions where there is not any one answer fits all. But let's take an overall picture of an individual somewhere around the world that wants to bring their car with them, but they hear that the duty that Costa Rica charges is so prohibitive that it's not going to be worth it. But that falls into the category 99% of the time of misinformation. It's part of the due diligence on making a move. It's like you would not phone up Ace Moving and say, send me to Costa Rica and send me the bill. You do inquiries as to how do I get a price for shipping and how do I make sure that it's a bona fide person that's going to handle my precious goods and such. Same with their vehicle. How do I know how much the duty is going to be? Are they going to rip me off by telling me it's going to be $4,000, and when they have it and it arrives, it turns out to be $9,000? So those are the things that the common sense dictate. So the question is, do you want to bring a car down or not? Okay, let's assume you do. You don't want to bring a car down that is unique to the country. You don't want to be the only one with the 19-speed Maserati with the road clearance of 1/8 of an inch, because first off, our roads are a little different standard than your home country, no matter where you're from. They're a little different and probably worse. But also repairs and mechanics and such. I could see the typical Costa Rican mechanic, and we do have excellent mechanics here. They're looking at a Maserati or a Ferrari or a on and on, pick a number. But even a car uh, from the U.S. that originated in Europe is, although it's the same name and the same brands and all that, it's built to a different specification and such. So you want to know what you really are bringing down and if you should bring it down. Physically moving a car is absolutely no problem. If you're bringing down household effects, and 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom house, typically such, would be a 20-foot container. With a vehicle would be a 40-foot container. This cost difference between a 20-foot and a 40-foot, roughly $750 to $800, maybe $1,000 an hour, that the containers are getting more expensive due to shortage. But that's something you'll get a quote on. So that's also something I should say you'll get a quote on. But here's the story. Okay, no, I'm just bringing the car. Okay, so you put it on what we call a car transport, or you drive it to a port of export, a port of, what do you say? You send it to a port of exit, and you have it put on a ship and shipped to, if you're in the east coast of the U.S., for example, or Canada, it would go to the east coast of Costa Rica. Reciprocally, if you're in Texas or the west coast or east coast of Canada, it would go to our east coast, which is typically Limon. Okay, so now we know that that's where they're going to go. Then it goes to the cost of the shipment. How much more are you going to charge me for the container? Basically, the car comes free if you, except for the cost of the increased cost or size of the container, because the shipping companies don't really care what's in the container. They just want to know how much volume, because everything is predicated on volume. Okay, so that leaves the magical question about duty. Well, I heard the duty is very expensive. Yes. How much will it be? Well, give us a few hints as to what you're bringing down. Well, I have 2 cars and I don't know which one I'm going to bring. Well, then give us the description of both of them and we'll tell you what the duty will be. But excuse me, we will not tell you. We will have a receiving agent tell you in writing that your car number 1 anticipate a duty of $4,287.93, and car number 2, which is a newer model or older model, whatever, they'll give you a very exacting price, which probably varies at maximum $50 to $25 or is dead on, because they take the description to Hacienda here, the tax department, and they tell you exactly for that model with those additional items on it and such, this would be the duty, and you will pretty well take that to the bank. Okay, now that begs the question again, what information should I ask? Here's what a receiving agent would need. This is the information that the more complete you make it, the more accurate the quote will be. But in all honesty, people are always pleased to hear that, well, I heard duty was 66% or 88%. No, it depends on the age of the car and the type and model. An electric car here in Costa Rica is duty free. They are really into, as you possibly know, all our power is generated by natural. We don't burn diesel fuel to create power here in Costa Rica. It's all done by water and whatever. So they're very cognizant of petro dollars being spent to have to they like the idea of electric cars. They support it to the point where they offer those cars from your home country here duty free. Okay. First thing the receiving agent needs to know is the type of vehicle. Is it a 4-door sedan, a 2-door sedan? Is it a half-ton truck? Is it a three-quarter-ton truck? Is it a 3-ton truck? Okay, so the type of vehicle is the first question. The model and the color. And the model, well, as you know, different car brands have different models, and usually the model denotes a different cost because it has inherent different features in it. The color, people come back to it and say, why in God's name do we have to know, or we have to tell you what the color is? We're just very interested. We can't understand why. Well, it's not, it is part of the duty process, but well, the car here is in customs getting processed. They have to check that car against theft. If it's stolen vehicle or whatever, if they're told to look out for that 2016 or 2019 Chevrolet Impala, I hope they still make Impalas, but that's green, then they will be looking for that green Impala. If there's a yellow one or white one or whatever other color, then they don't have to look specifically where that one is parked. So it's a service. They ask for a combination of reasons. It's not specifically for duty on the color, but the fact is you will be asked, and you better be prepared to advise them. Okay. The age of the vehicle, of course, is important. Everybody thinks that there's a restriction on cars of such and such an age, and older are not allowed. That's a fallacy. You tell them what you're bringing in, what you want to bring in, and they'll look at it and they'll get you a price. If the car you are offering or supposed or thinking about bringing has not been into the system yet, it's unique in as much as that's the only car of that make, of that year, that's coming in, the duty that in that case will be a little won't be firm, it won't be exact, because they have nothing to compare to. The next car identical to yours that comes in, they'll use yours as an example. So that's a little hazy answer, but the fact is you can pretty well count on an accurate quote. But that one exception is if you're the first kid on the block with that toy. Okay. The other portion of it is there's really special designations, models they have, like Super Sport or XL or Super XL, etc. Those all denote additions in the size of the motor, or four-wheel drive, for example, is another important thing to denote whether your car is two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. But it's one of the questions that reflects on the value of the amount of the duty. Surprisingly enough, two-door versus a four-door. They need to know that there is a factor somewhere. And honestly, in some cars, the two-door is more expensive in duty, and sometimes it's the four-door is more expensive, depending on the brand and model. But they have an extensive history and an extensive record of cars that come in, and they can update them fairly quickly and such. So it's not a big deal. They also will need to know whether it's standard transmission or automatic transmission. Any special features such as a sunroof or trailer hitch, or trying to think of some other bucket seats, console. Those are the questions, because when you bought that car new and ordered it from the factory, you specified that and you probably paid a premium. They know that, and they're going to get their ounce of duty from that extra cost. The VIN number. Everybody says, what the heck is a VIN number? You spelled wine wrong, you dropped the E. But no, it's not. It's the vehicle identification number. Usually you'll find that inside the front windshield, and usually behind the portion that has the odometer on your dashboard. So if you take a flashlight and look down through the window, you'll see a black, typically black piece of tape looking whatever, and there has a bunch of numbers that starts out with VIN, VIN, vehicle identification number. So give that number. That tells a history of the car almost from the date of manufacture to the current date. Very, very important. You won't get any quotes without that VIN number. Type of fuel: gas, diesel, hybrid, or again, if it's an electric vehicle. Very important. The very important thing is check your registration. If you bought a secondhand car several years ago, this might have either slipped your mind or you didn't notice in the first place. But if that car is, if it was in an accident and was rebuilt, they will not allow it into the country. They have a big problem. People used to go down car repair shops used to go to Florida or California and such and bring in truckloads, container loads of cars that they could fix here and put on the road, and people would drive away until a couple hours later, or a couple weeks later, or a couple months later, a couple years later, the car falls apart and they find out that it was repaired and not was never supposed to be back on the road. So they are very, very aware of the fact that if the word salvage appears on your registration, don't bring it. Don't even think about bringing it, because it will get landed here and it'll get returned to you, or it will stay here, period, but it'll never see the road. They're very, very particular about that, and rightfully so. We're getting a terrible number of cars that were not credible or viable to fix in the home country, but are very viable to fix here in Costa Rica because of the high cost of the vehicles. So that's a very important thing to remember. Let's see. This is the question we get quite often. Well, what's the blue book value? Folks, it's just a mechanism, a system that we don't use in Costa Rica. Blue book is very popular in North America, and I don't know whether they use it in the U.S. or not, but in Europe or not, wherever else. But the fact is, blue book is just somebody's opinion that put it in writing that car at that age, it's that condition, such typically will cost X number of dollars. Costa Rica immigration or duty customs are not interested in blue book value. They have their own set, and actually, tell you the truth, our local evaluations are more favorable to the client than the blue book and such is. But it doesn't give you any credence or step up from the line if you say, well, I find out the blue book value of my car is such and such, and everybody looks at you like, so what? Okay. So that is an encapsulation of basically the information you need. When you have your receiving agent, you tell them this is you want a cost for that, and they will give you the amount of the duty very, very quickly. And they will also give you a price for what we call making it street legal. And street legal doesn't mean you're going to make a jalopy into a dragster or what, but it means that that car, as you bring it in, has to be registered in your name here or in a corporation name that you own here, whatever. People say, it's already registered in my name, I don't have to do that. You're partially right. It is already registered, but it's registered in your name in the US or Canada or your home country. This are Costa Rica, and it's going to be registered. If it's going to be on the road here, it's going to be registered in Costa Rica, and that's what we mean by cost of registration. Also, compulsory inspection is done on the car. It's not an expensive process, but they make sure that the brakes work, the clutch works, the lights work, the signal switch light work, the seat belts work. They're good, not so much good compression in the car, but good brake pressure. They're very thorough. they'll check to make sure your doors can be locked and unlocked from inside and outside, that the dash lights are all working. Just a very thorough, but every car goes through it every year. So your down here starts when you bring the car in. Actually, when the receiving agent arranges for all this to take place for you. And then it goes to the lawyer who registers the car and plates the car, and the receiving agent asks you how much insurance you want to put on the car, or do you want to put insurance on the car? That's your option. And it's all done, and they hand deliver you the car, and you drive away merrily into the sunset. That's pretty well sums it up. Now, I want to add something to it. Why we are fairly conversant on the requirements. As our company name denotes, Costa Rica Immigration and Moving Experts. That was part of the moving part of the name. Because of the last year, 18 months, the number of applications we are getting for residency it has been prohibitive for us to continue to be involved in the moving portion of it. So we really are Costa Rican immigration experts now, not moving. What we just did was simply made arrangements with the people that we used to use, get us quotes and such, and say, look, this is a client living in Duluth, Minnesota. Here's his postal zip code, and he would like to have a price on getting from his home address to his new home address here. He wants to pay the duty, of course, on his household effects, and he would like to know what the duty is going to be on his vehicle. That man, that woman, that person then takes over from us. We are not involved. We don't participate in the coding of it or or share in the profit of arranging it. It's just simply a service that we continue to pass on to our clients. So if you let me know, I'll arrange to talk to a number, 2-3 of the people. Usually I give 2 or 3, and they start to quote compete against each other to get the best service, the best price. So that's the scenario about duty and such. Overall, people say, should I bring my household effects? Is it better to buy new and such? That's a personal call. The duty amount is not that high. Their duty is higher on refrigerators because of Freon. Because of Freon, part of the same story as was applicable to cars that are considered salvage. Refrigerators are expensive in Costa Rica. Therefore, people were coming from Costa Rica to the U.S. and buying container loads of used refrigerators, bringing them over and selling them. And they died within 6 months to a year, and the landfills were filling up with freezers or refrigerators that were no value, not worth getting fixed, and junk. So they have a fairly high rate of duty on refrigerators, whether it be refrigerators and or freezers or combinations. So you may want to consider that. The other option is, of course, buy it and bring it down, pay the duty, and bite the bullet. I am firmly convinced that appliances, electrical appliances, stove, fridge, such, we don't have, even the imported items that we get here, I question if they are not rejects or what else you're going to call them, defects, whatever. I'm not happy with the electrical appliances overall here. I like we have Samsung here, that's a good name, but they're local manufacturers, and some of the ones coming from Mexico leave a lot to be desired. Okay, I'm digressing away from the duty of how to calculate the duty on a car, but thought I'd fill that in. So there's what we do. We'll take care of your immigration requirements, and we'll help you with all our knowledge about moving and such, but through a third person. They appreciate the amount of business we give them. Therefore, they will take as good a care from you, to you, for you, as they would have for us dealing with you. It's a good business for them, and we do give them a fair number of people, but with our office just cannot do the two things correctly anymore because it's we are, thank God, busy.
Well, Kevin, thanks a lot. It's really been a pleasure. There's been a lot of people taking a lot of notes, and if they haven't been taking notes, we've posted Kevin's contact information and his website address on the program notes that are associated with this specific episode. I do want to give you folks his website address. It's Costa Rica Immigration and Moving Experts.com. That's Costa Rica Immigration and Moving Experts.com. Simply go to the Contact Us page and send him a note. And you will also notice on the website, on the top left-hand corner of the homepage, there is his WhatsApp phone number, and he's available at least 10 or 12 hours a day, so be sure to give him a call. And by the way, if you haven't already, be sure to listen to our first 43 conversations with Kevin regarding residency and everything about Costa Rica. Just like today, he goes in depth in every topic that we talk about, and it really helps out a lot of people. If you like what you've heard today, please share our Q&A session with your friends and family and on social media. And if you come up with any specific questions that you want to have us talk about, please contact me at Costa Rica Good News at gmail.com. That's Costa Rica Good News at gmail.com. Kevin, thanks again. We really appreciate it. We'll see you soon for our 45th conversation. Thanks again for today, and we'll talk to you soon.
You're welcome entirely, Skip. Honestly, joking aside, I really do appreciate these opportunities, and I definitely have to say I enjoy them. So thanks again for the invite. Have a nice evening, and we're now coming into our 3-day weekend. So I think this is my last job for the day. Take care. Thanks again for the invite.
Thanks, Kevin. My pleasure.